So today, everybody, I have my client Char here with me, and she is so wonderful because we've actually already done this interview and I accidentally deleted it. So we are here for take two, and just going to hear about Char's story in her journey working with me and just her journey to do a whole lot more than lose weight, but that's a pretty big perk too. So welcome, Char. Thank you so much for coming on back.
No problem.
And going through it all again. And so, all right. So I'm curious, Char. All right. So I'm curious if we could just dive into this. Like, what was your challenge before the Stick to It system, before you entered into working with me? What was that like for you?
So for over a year before I started with you, I was having a lot of gut issues in that I basically planned my life around the bathroom. If I ate, I was running to the toilet. So many things, and I had no idea what it was. They were just triggering me, and it just kept me from enjoying anything in life. It was to the point where I couldn't go and do anything unless I either didn't eat beforehand or made sure I ate just very little. And it just was, I felt miserable, and I was just done with it. And that was the biggest thing.
Yeah. Right. And so I remember you mentioning like that, when it really opened my eyes to how you were feeling was like you mentioned that like your husband and your daughter were going out for a hike and you would not be able to go. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when I actually called you or messaged you. I reached out to, to Brenda because I knew she had worked with someone who helped her with a lot of her gut issues. And then I was like, I messaged you because it was a Sunday afternoon. I was supposed to go hiking, but my gut said, no, you're not. You need to be near a bathroom. And, TMI, guys. But, that is how it was. And so here I was missing out on life again. And I was just fed up with it here, instead of being out on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, I was laying on a couch feeling sorry for myself because I couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And so how many days out of the week do you think that this would really pull you down?
Oh, it was pretty much every day. I mean, I was kind of getting to the point where, like if I ate, I went to the bathroom. But some days, of course, were worse than others. And I mean, now I realize was probably food triggers. But I mean, at the time, I had no idea what it was. Like I had for that last year before calling you, I had tried eliminating multiple things. I had eliminated dairy. I thought it was eggs. And so I had eliminated eggs. I eliminated gluten. And still it was all happening. I mean, sometimes for a short little while, it would get a little better after I eliminated something, but then it just came right back. And so obviously I was not figuring this out. Right. And I was just getting miserable.
Yeah, I can understand that would be frustrating, right? Especially when it's not like you're just sitting around like, and this is just happening to you, right? You're being proactive and trying to make things change. And so I'm curious, like in all this, like what was your weight doing? Like, was your weight going up and down? Was it stuck? Was it at a high point, or where was it? Or like losing weight because you're always going to the bathroom? Like, what did that look like for you?
Nope. I never lost an ounce through all that pooping. I mean, and honestly, I was at a point in my mindset that I was just unhappy in my body and unhappy with everything. And I just wasn't weighing myself. Very seldom would I stand on the scale. If I were to look back, I probably didn't stand on the scale for months and months. I, kind of went by my clothes, which were just getting a little bit tighter, or, they were about the same. Things hadn't really changed. If I looked back, I was probably in the same 5-pound range, now 10-pound range for, a year and a half, 2 years. And I just kind of stayed there. And, lots of times I thought, well, with all of this going on, and now I'm not eating this and this and this, I should be losing weight. But at the same time, I was too afraid to look at the scale because, that old brain of ours. And if I get on there and I'm not down, then I'm going to be even more discouraged. So I'm just going to fake it.
Yeah, and just avoid it altogether. Got it. And so one of my questions was like, what did you try to overcome those challenges, right? So I hear avoiding the scale, avoiding the challenge of seeing that number, but also like that you were trying different things. It's not like you just let it happen. You were really giving it your effort, right? And so I'm curious with that, like, we talked about I jumped the gun, and we already talked about the moment you decided to move to a different solution, which was, going for a hike with your family, which I'm assuming is not something that just happened once, right? It just was kind of that trigger point that made you kind of turn things around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so with that, right, with everything you had going on, with the struggles with your digestive system, right? Like, and with like knowing that, okay, I'm just going to avoid the scale, all those things. And because you had tried so many different things, I'm wondering, right, if it was difficult for you to think that, okay, maybe somebody else could help me, right? Or maybe somebody else I could invest my time with and invest my money with, right? Especially when, a lot of us, even in this group, think, I know a lot of information. I should know how to deal with this, right? And so is that something you thought at any point? Like, I should know, I should be able to do this.
Well, exactly. I did. I thought I should be able to figure it out, right? And I mean, I had even tried other things like going to a naturopath, which, didn't necessarily solve anything either, like because COVID hit and then you couldn't visit anybody or follow up on anything and everything else. But yeah, no, it was you just don't. I spent hours on the internet. Well, I'm going to try this next. I'm going to try this, and you'd read an article or find another book or whatever on any subject that you thought would help you. So I thought I could figure it out because I mean, I know lots of stuff, right? I know the diet stuff and everything else, but none of it was working. And and that was a big thing. And I was one of these people who always said, I can't lose weight. It doesn't matter, because I mean, every diet I went on didn't work. So I was kind of, or they'd work for a little bit and then it would all come back. But investing the money into myself, it was like it was and the time, right? Because it takes away. You always feel like you're taking away and giving to yourself. And that's just not the nature of most women, and especially not of mothers and wives or whatever. You take care of everybody else. So in turn, yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. But once I talked to you and heard about the science behind this, I was like, finally, there's going to be something that can really help me, that's specific to me, not just a generic, okay, everybody go on keto and you're all going to lose weight, or, avoid gluten and your guts will be better. I'd read all the leaky gut stuff and, all this stuff sounded good, but it wasn't doing a damn thing.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Which is specific to you, right? So that's what I love that you pointed out, because how many times have, like, I've done all of the things as well, and I had that same mindset that said I can't lose weight, right? And that thought that you had as well, like I can't lose weight. And so it's interesting, because when we follow all these things that should work for us, right, there's a lot of that judgment that can come onto our shoulders. This should be working. I should be able to do it. I watch everybody else lose weight and I can't. And so with that, I'm curious, like, what are you doing now that kind of maybe surprises you, like with the way that you're eating compared to what you were trying before? Because I know, like, especially if you've taken out gluten, you took out dairy, you took out all these things. I'm curious if there's anything that surprised you about what, you're doing now.
Well, I mean, I've been following my metabolic plan for the 4 months now. And now, as I'm kind of reintroducing a few foods, because, after about 12, 14 weeks, I started to experiment a little bit. I am really surprised at the things that are triggering my guts, things that I thought were really benign. And like little thing, tomatoes. I love tomatoes, ate them all my life. And within 2 days of reintroducing them, my joints were hurting. And, I didn't necessarily get the GI stuff, but I put it together in my head that it's just delayed. That's going to come because if my joints are feeling inflammation, probably my guts are. Some
Yeah.
things, and it was just a surprise. Like, and
Yeah.
eggs, which I thought were my problem. I can eat eggs. I mean, I'm not allowed to have, or I don't try not to use that word. I don't eat eggs every day. I don't even want to eat eggs every day, but I can have eggs. And before, if I was going to have them, I had to make sure they were well cooked. Now I can even have a over easy egg and everything's fine. And that's nice.
Wow. So that's really fascinating, right? So there's a lot of these like foods that a lot of people would think, okay, I shouldn't have that. Like take out the dairy, take out the wheat, take out this, right? But then when it's something that we're eating all the time, and I know that there are a few vegetables that aggravate my gut as well and cause me to experience a lot of inflammation, which we think vegetables, like I thought vegetables were a free food, right? And then you actually understand that when you're eating for your body, that there are certain things, that there's certain makeup of certain things that are going to kind of cause some issues. And it's really hard to figure that out when we're trying to do that on our own. So that's very interesting that you kind of came to those conclusions, right? And so I'm curious, like, as you mentioned right now, you're starting to add things in, right? And we're just starting to kind of create for you, like being an observer of what's going on for you and what's going on in your body. I'm curious about all of that that's going on. Like, what have your experiences been so far? Do you feel like following, like working together, following along, that you felt supported? Do you feel like it was, it's been like a big struggle that you haven't to, like with your food? I'm curious about those two things.
Well, when I first got my metabolic plan, I'm going to tell you, I freaked out. I freaked out completely. Called my friend Brenda. I'm like, I can't do this. This is crazy. How are you supposed to live like this? How are you supposed to eat like this? Blah, blah, blah. And then I had, after my meltdown, and I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff of what I was going to say to you, because I was like, this can't happen. And then, then I just decided, okay, you decided you're going to do this, just buy in, follow it along. And, the support I get from you is amazing, because I can message you, and, I can call you, I can message you and bitch and complain about what I'm not happy, what is happening or not happening. But honestly, the results were so amazing that it just made it easy to follow along, because my guts were so much better even after the first week. And I was dropping weight, which is just a bonus in itself. And then, I really didn't join this plan to lose weight. I joined it for my guts. And the weight loss was kind of a secondary thing. And yet it just kept happening. And my guts just got so much better. So now my life isn't ruled by my guts. And I mean, I still, if I'm going to experiment with a new food, I do plan it appropriately. Like, okay, I've got a whole day of, okay, I'm going to go golfing first thing tomorrow morning. I don't want to try something new tonight that I'm not sure about, but I am at least able to go forward and have my life, because that's just so easy to do, right? I can plan that, and planning is key to all of this plan. I mean, of the success. And then being able to reach out to you when I'm not sure why I had a reaction, like, was it this or that? Like, the support has been amazing. Thanks.
Good. Yes. And a lot of times it's really interesting, because a lot of people are in this group because we think we have an overeating problem, or we just can't lose weight. Just like you said, like, I can't lose weight. But it's very interesting hearing from you how, like, when we aren't focusing on the weight loss and we're actually focusing on our hormones, focusing on our digestive system, how that weight loss is such a side effect, right? So that focusing on weight loss alone is not going to get us to where we need to be. And in this group, we talk a lot about how our thoughts play into that, because I can assume that throughout the journey, right, you said at the beginning, I was freaking out, right? Because we're on an old old way of thinking, right? We're on that old way of thinking. And so as you've gone through your journey, right, I can see that the new way of thinking has started to take over. And you said, like, it's easier to follow. It's easier to follow. For one, we see the results, right? And the results are really not because you've been focusing on your weight loss, but because you've been focusing on like your gut health, and then the hormones, all of that falls into place, right? And so that is the perfect side effect. That is the perfect side effect that's happening. And that's not rare to people who are following along, right? Because our body is so much happier when we focus there rather than like trying to fit ourselves into this fad diet that's actually not nourishing any of that, right? Because then we're just going to keep struggling and struggling and struggling. So I really love that, like, you did come into this with a whole desire to fix your gut, because then the whole weight loss piece was just that amazing side effect for you. And so I know a lot of people coming in are weight loss focused, right? And so then we do have to do more with the brain and think, okay, when our hormones are balanced, when our gut is balanced, you get that too, right? You get that too. We need to do it in a healthy way that your body's going to respond to. And that's what I think the magic is. And so I'm curious, like, everybody might know already the results so far, but can you share what they have been, right? I kind of gave it away in the title, but why don't you share that with us?
Well, I'm down pretty much 35 pounds in 4 months. I don't think I've ever lost this much weight at once. I mean, you know, 20 years ago, I probably, you know, I went on, what was it, Herbal Magic, and I did lose a bunch of weight at that point. But, you know, really, it was all supplements and blah, blah, and restriction and all this stuff. It wasn't healthy in any way, shape, or form, and came back on very, as quick as it went off almost. But anyways, but the other side, the other part of this is that, you know, I'm down 35 pounds, and joints that used to hurt, that I thought was just because I'm getting old, don't hurt anymore. And my energy, I annoy my husband at times because I'm, you know, I'm doing things and I'm bubbling around, or sometimes I'm trying to get him to dance while we're cooking supper, and he's like, "What's wrong with you? You're crazy." Like, you know, I just feel so much better. And like, we can go and do 18 holes of golf and still go for a walk in the evening if we want to. If it's a nice day and we don't feel like sitting in front of the stupid idiot box, we will go for a walk. And, you know, like, before doing 18 holes, I was dragging my ass at the end of it. This hurt and that hurt. And, you know, that's all gone away with the inflammation I didn't even realize was there.
Mm-hmm. Yay, right? What an awesome thing to experience that. And nobody can show a before and after of that. And so along with that, right, we can see a before and after of our body, but that's really only just one piece that we get to benefit from. And so I'm curious if there's any part of your brain that you can explain a little bit of the before and after of, and then we'll close it up after that.
Well, I think before I was very defeated and very reluctant to make some of the changes. Like, there was no way I could drink black coffee. I needed my cream and sugar in my coffee, and I had to have this and I had to have that. And there's no way that vegetables are bad for you. You can have as much as you want. I mean, Weight Watchers says they're a free vegetable, right? I mean, they're a free food. You know, you go on and you just had that thought process. And now I definitely look at food in a different way. It's like, okay. And for the first number of weeks, honestly, I looked at food as fuel. It doesn't matter if it's not great every meal. It doesn't matter if it's kind of boring and it's the same things over and over in a few weeks. This is fine, because I feel so much better. And now, and you know, it was like I flipped a switch. It was just, I'm doing this for me. I've made this commitment and I am buying in 100%. And I did, which was sometimes hard for some people to understand, because I've been told by somebody, or some people, that it's too restrictive. And, you know, like some people, my mom says to me, "Oh, you've just cut out all the good food in life." I said, "Well, all the processed good food, yeah, but I don't miss it anymore, Mom." Like, honestly, we were at friends recently and they wanted us to have chips. I'm like, "No, chips upset my stomach. Why would I eat them? I don't want to eat them just to make you happy. Not doing it. Sorry." You know, that's just the way it is.
Right. And that's what a lot of people think when they're in the old way of thinking, like, I could never do that. Like, how are you actually happy? But when you're on the other side and your brain changes, you actually lower that desire for those foods, which is
Oh,
really the goal,
absolutely.
right? That's the
Yeah.
goal. Like, if we could lower the desire, there's half the battle, right? Lowering the
Mhm.
desire for the sugar, for the chips and all the things. And then we aren't left with that, right? And so that's so amazing that you got to experience that, because of course, from the outside looking in, people all have their own opinion. When you get to experience what's going on in your body and experience how your brain comes alive, and also like the benefits of just like, I actually don't desire that, then to you, like, would you say I'm being restricted? Like, is that what you would say?
Not anymore, no. And I probably felt that way in the beginning. I kept saying, I'm not allowed to have that on my, because I'm following my plan. I'm not allowed this. I'm not allowed that. Now I'm working on that brain part of things. I try very hard to say, I'm not eating that now, or I'm choosing not to have that today, because it does. And as crazy as it does make you feel different. Like restrictions was always a bad word to me. COVID is a restriction. Those are negative things. So now I don't feel restricted. I feel like, okay, when I want to try something, I just plan to try it. If I want to have it, we do have our blisses. You can have some bliss. But it's just, for the most part, all that stuff that I used to just grab, I don't even miss it. And I don't snack at all anymore. It's so funny because, we'll go golfing. My husband, he takes along a power bar or something just in case he gets hungry. And he's like, didn't you bring a snack? I said, I don't have snacks. I don't eat snacks. I don't need snacks. I don't, I don't find it's necessary.
Which makes life easier, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful. Oh, well, I could keep talking to you for ages on this, because I think it's important for people to understand that, like, we see it from outside perspective looking in, and it seems like, oh man, losing 35 pounds, that must be so hard. You must have had, felt like this, and this. But then when you're on the other side, yes, there's a journey that you have to go through. Yes, there's going to be some uncomfortable feelings, but the benefits, would you say and agree with me, outweigh all of that you were
Oh my
feeling?
God, yeah. I've got my life back, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel so amazing. I can't say how what age I feel like I've gone back to as far as my body goes, because I don't remember a time when I didn't have something going on. Right.
Yeah.
And right now I do. I feel great, and I sleep great. I just have so much more spunk, and just,
Now I can see it. That's what I said when I saw you this morning. I'm like, I see it. And that's what I told her. I'm like, we need some photos so that people can see like the before and photo. You can see that, but you're experiencing all the inner benefits